Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl Season 3, and this is going to be my review for Episode 9 for this season, otherwise entitled The Monsters, and the ending of this episode had me so surprised. I was like, wow, they're doing this character? But of course, if you've not watched the episode, go away, because we're going to be talking about everything that happens in this episode, including all the spoilers. But if you have watched it, you are continuing, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and reactions to this episode, any theories and predictions moving forward as well. And if you're surprised by that appearance at the end of the episode, and if you don't know who it is, we'll talk about it and sort of explain it without jiving too much into it, because we'll leave that for other videos. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down there. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, enjoy the episode, want to show your support, want to drop a like on the video to do all that. Now, obviously, I'm just going to address it quickly. I did do a separate video on it addressing it, but for the sake of the review, yes, Stargirl was unfortunately cancelled over the past couple of days. So Season 3 will be its last, including this episode. There was 5 episodes left, so we can enjoy what we have left. And, hopefully, it ends in a positive way. Even though it's negative news, hopefully we can enjoy the last handful of episodes and just see how the show ends up. Apparently, they filmed 2 separate endings for this season in case the show didn't move on, so at least we won't have a cliffhanger. Though they would have filmed a cliffhanger at the same time as well, but we won't see that ending. So, yeah. But anyway, last episode leading into this one, we had like the back half of our visit to the Helix Institute, where the team were able to sort out the issues with Jenny, her brother Todd, as well as the Shade, while also learning about the Helix Institute itself and learning that Mr. Bones is not the person responsible for the cameras within Blue Valley. But who the hell is? Well, as the episode ends, we do see this mysterious black hooded figure under Blue Valley in the ISA headquarters region, looking upon those surveillance screens, with them punching the still image of Rick, aka Owlman, as the episode does cut to black. So it's quite the twist and the misdirect, and the end of this episode doesn't really lead us to any, I guess, major conclusions either, because I think what we see at the end isn't explaining that surveillance screen stuff, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, this episode was one of the ones that they were sort of, I want to say hyping up, but saying that you get some push into the back half of this season, as well as some, the climax of certain things. And obviously the climax is the stuff with Cameron and his family and the tension that's been building there. So I think you were just wondering throughout this episode when we're going to get to that. And I think it was pretty well delivered. But of course, it was also setting up some stuff for those final 3 or 4 episodes that we do have after this one, because, yeah, the reveal of that character at the end made me go, that's cool. It explains some things, but it doesn't explain everything at the same time. But let's just jump into the actual breakdown of the episode and talk about everything that's, worth talking about. So we start off the episode with Cameron's grandmother reflecting on her family's history by the looks of it. And I was wondering, was that a family member being burnt at the stake? Maybe because of their family's special abilities? We know the family is from Norway. That's where the origins lie. And I don't know if there was some weird stuff that went on in Norway which would lead to someone being burnt at the stake, or if that was some stuff that maybe happened in America when they first came here. I'm not too sure. But we see that she is growing more frustrated with Cameron's feelings, and I guess just borderline obsession with Courtney, though Cameron's grandfather seems to be sort of stuck in the middle by the looks of it and doesn't want so much tension to be there, because he saw the mistakes that happened with, his son as well. So, yeah, he's trying to be like a mediator, but it's not really working too well. Now, Courtney and Pat do arrive back in Blue Valley, and events are caught up to by both sides, both from the people that were in Blue Valley, as well as Pat and Courtney in regards to what happened within Blue Valley while they were gone. With Pat initially suppressing what he experienced within the Shadowlands, which last episode felt like it was something that was going to play out going forward. But he does end up opening up to Barbara about seeing his father and Mike, and how it multiplied his worries about his role as a father and his history Mike's history and what he did with Mike. But this leads to Pat opening up about Mike's mother, which was referenced by Shadowlands Mike last episode. And we learned that Mike's mother abandoned him, and that slowly Mike sort of just stopped asking about her because Pat sort of just blocked her out, with Pat feeling that, it was pretty wrong to block her out of his life, with Barbara bringing up, what we saw in season 1 with Courtney's dad. And maybe Mike needs to see his mother for either some closure or maybe to light a spark once again. Now, it's very important to remember, we saw Mike's mother in episode 1, I think it was episode 1 of last season, in season 2. It was the lady at the diner that Sylvester went and talked to, because he was wondering, do you know where your son and your ex-husband are? And that was his path to get into Blue Valley. So we've seen her before, but outside of that one scene, that's about it. She hasn't been referenced that much because of Pat blocking her out and everything like that. So I don't know if we're going to see her again, or it's just something that Pat's just going to be thinking about, and maybe it happens at the end of the season. I don't know. But Luke Wilson was really good in that scene, and the music along with it was really good. I think he nailed that scene so good. But of course, last episode, Yolanda got kicked out of her house by her mother, and she explains to Courtney what's been going on at her house and why she is now at Courtney's house and crashing there. And Courtney be like, hey, my best friend, we're sleepover for forever. I don't know. But anyway, Courtney takes this opportunity to get Yolanda's backing to sort of address the whole Cameron situation with the group, as well as the fact that she wants to reveal the truth about everything to Cameron. Stargirl, his father, what happened to him, all of it. And that specific stuff isn't well received, especially by Rick, who is against it, but still agrees to let Courtney do what she wants to do, despite his deep worries about it. Now, while all that's going on, Mr. Dysinger, and I was like, as soon as I saw him going to that house, I was like, oh my God, he's going to die, isn't he? But anyway, obviously he's Cameron's art teacher. So he goes to visit the home and speak to Cameron's grandparents to talk about Cameron quitting art classes. Because like, what the hell? He was so good. Why would he quit? It's like a star soccer player or something going, oh, I don't like scoring goals anymore. I'm going to go sit on a bench and not doing anything. So he's worried, and it's fed back with anger from Cameron's grandmother. And due to Mr. Dysinger's insistence, I guess, on Cameron not throwing his art skills away, she just kills him pretty brutally. It looks like she froze his body quickly because it looked like blood all of when he like froze in his head, but then obviously shoots him with like an icicle into the heart. So I was like, wow, really? And they just dump his body in the dumpster outside. I was like, regardless of what happens in this episode, we can not sympathize with this woman because she is a nutbag. She is a nutcase. But speaking of doing nutty things, Mike and Jakeem are still in search for Cindy and use the Thunderbolt to break into Cindy's locker at school, where they do actually find the list of her father's lab locations, which all of them are crossed off, except for one, and it's circled. And it appears to be in Blue Valley by the sounds of it, because apparently was it Esser? I think Mr. Farmer Esser, or Esther, whatever it was. He was selling like moonshine to the teenagers. So I'm guessing it's like on the outskirts of Blue Valley and stuff like that. And he brings it into Blue Valley and was selling it to the kids or the teenagers. So yeah, that's where the last apparent lab location is on this list. Now, I didn't think anything was going to come of this in this episode. I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's just like, it's just setting something up. And boy, well, we're wrong, and makes you wonder what the hell's going on with Cindy and where she is. Now, one thing that is set up and sort of like hinted at in this episode, and I think we're going to see play out in these last 3 or 4 episodes, is Rick feeling the effects of the hourglass and the overusage of it, but he covers like that sign of pain from it as like a headache. However, right after this, Beth does get a ping on the location of the surveillance center for those cameras, and it's pointing directly at the McKent's house. Now, I was very curious whether this was an accurate ping or not, because it's important to remember earlier this season, we saw the McKent's we saw Cameron's grandparents quickly rush into a door and like put their coats on and go away. And I was wondering, okay, where are they going? Because initially I thought they might have been going to take care of Sylvester because they'd been suspect of him or suspicious of him in that episode. And at the end of that episode, that's when Sylvester gets attacked, thrown up in the air, thrown down, all that stuff. But maybe they were going to the surveillance room. So that's why they maybe have some cameras in their house, but the main stuff is in that ISA HQ. Icicle was heading that ISA HQ up, so it makes sense that they'd have access to it, and there'd be a door from that house or a passage from the McKen house that would lead directly there. But it's still unclear whether they're behind it or not. And also, there was only one person in that room wearing a black hood. Would you really need to wear a black hood? Would one of them have to do it to go in there? It's still confusing, and I don't think it's them, but at the same time, this episode doesn't rule them out as the people behind it. But anyway, that's where they think that all the surveillance cameras are. So as that's all going on, Courtney does go to Cameron's house, so she's there while they're taking aim at it, and she goes there obviously to follow up on that announcement that she had with the other JSA members, and as she tries to tell Cameron the truth, she's interrupted by an angry Cameron grandmother, and specifically his grandparents as a whole, but his grandmother is the one that comes in yelling and stuff like that and screaming. But they in turn are interrupted by our man and the other JSA members barging in, though Beth is instructed by Yolanda to stay outside, but that doesn't last too long. And though I thought Cameron might have been a bystander and just got like, oh my God, what's going on here? He does have a go at Rick and uses his powers. So we do get a Rick and Cameron fight. But the other fights that are going on throughout the episode or throughout this bit is Yolanda versus Grandma Icicle, which one was the more like technical one, like a lot of flips, a lot of, stuff like that, which I thought was pretty cool. But Beth does learn of combat mode in her suit while being attacked by Grandpa Icicle. And in the trailer, we did see her with like the red lenses, and I assumed maybe it's some sort of like attack mode or whatever it might be. So that's pretty handy. Maybe it would have been handier early in the show, but handy, I guess now's the time to do it. Though Beth does still need an assist from Artemis, who randomly shows up and makes a surprise entrance. Doesn't do too much after that, but definitely helps Beth in that situation. Now, surprisingly, Cameron does overpower Rick, which leads to his grandmother telling him that they killed his father. These kids killed his father. And Courtney has no reply. Cameron can tell by the look on her face that that's the truth. But surprisingly, his grandfather is able to get him to stop him killing Rick and becoming what his father became, and sort of ignoring the love in his life and focusing on the hate. But this is just before he falls to the ground with a heart attack, but is able to be saved by Beth's suit. Now, we don't get any follow-up from that. So I'm very curious to see what the reaction from Cameron and the grandparents as a whole, specifically the grandmother, is in regards to this group. Because they've acknowledged, that Jordan, or Cameron's father, was doing bad stuff. They just acknowledge that just then, and it makes you wonder how Cameron feels about it, if he actually gets to sit down and actually have a proper conversation in regards to what his father was truly doing. That's going to be interesting, because Cameron didn't kill Rick, and it's not like Rick was trying to kill Cameron for the most part. So pretty even fight, or like even intentions there. So we'll probably find out early next episode, I guess, in regards to the fallout there, unless there's just silence between the two parties, and maybe it's something that's not addressed till maybe closer to the end of the season. But to end the episode off, at the farm, we have Mike and Jakeem. That was on Cindy's list. They're at the farm. You think you'd go during the daytime, not in the creepiest possible midnight or very late where it's dark scenario. I was like, Mike, Jakeem, surely even the Thunderbolt pen, give some suggestions. Go during the day. But as soon as they rolled in there, you just thought that something weird was going to happen. It just seemed spooky. I was like, it's not surprising this episode's airing just after Halloween. And though it seems empty, the house, we do see that the farmer inside there has been killed. It looks like his neck has been slashed or something. It looked like or stabbed or something. There's like blood on the floor, but he wasn't like beaten into a pulp or anything like that. But as they go into the barn alongside the house, we hear someone or something heavy breathing. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds like Dragon King. But I was like, oh, hold on. Well, Dragon King, maybe that's what Cindy sounds like after this transformation. I think that's what they were going for as well, to sort of confuse us. But then we turn around and we see that it's Ultra-Humanite, I'm pretty sure that's Ultra-Humanite, who originally was a human in the comics, but had this like super powerful brain that was sort of deteriorating his body, because it's sort of similar to what we had with DeVoe in The Flash season 4, if you watched that. But so he had this super powerful brain, it's deteriorating his body, so I think in the comics it goes between a couple of different people, sort of similar to DeVoe, but it ends up inside of an albino gorilla, which we see on screen right there. And originally it's from Gorilla City. I don't know if they'll do that on the show. The moment they say that it was like a gorilla from a zoo or something like that. Could be easy. I don't know what they'll do. But it's, it's put inside a gorilla to house it, because the gorilla's body can withstand the power that it draws. But he surely, or Ultra-Humanite surely couldn't have been the one in the surveillance room that we saw. It didn't look like a gorilla in a hood. So who is that? And also another question that comes from that is, are they connected, or are they separate? Because we don't know if people were looking at the surveillance stuff and Ultra-Humanite was being sent, or it's just a coincidence. We don't know what's going on there. So it could be connected. It could be separate. I think we might find out next episode. Maybe I'm not too sure what they're going to do. But I was not expecting Ultra-Humanite to be in this show. And if you don't know, he's like one of the oldest villains. I don't know if he's the oldest villain in the comics, in DC Comics, but he's like top 5. So it's crazy that he's showing up. It's crazy that he's here, but it's so surprising at the same time. But yeah, overall, this episode was surprising in multiple different ways, but that ending had me a bit shook. I was like, what the hell? He's here? But anyway, I enjoyed the episode, and I think it set up some stuff that we're not unsure about. The whole Cameron stuff, how he's going to react, unsure. How the grandparents, unsure. Ultra-Humanite, is he connected to this person in the Black Hood? Because it seemed to be a human. So what's going on there? There's still a lot of questions to be answered, even though some were answered in the past episode or two as well. So I'm very curious to see how things play out, and makes it even more bittersweet that this show has been cancelled, but it still doesn't rule out this being a good story for this season. I'm very curious to see how it ends. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and to show your support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode. Were you surprised by the ending? Any theories and stuff? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.